Welcome to Visual Testaments Broadcast with Tim and Donna Avery. Broadcasting from Spartanburg, South Carolina, we're here to bring you encouragement and point the fatherless to the Father and bring hope to the hopeless. This is the Visual Testaments Broadcast.
Welcome to Visual Testaments
With Tim and Donna Avery.
We're so excited you guys are joining us today. We got a pretty cool show with you guys today, and I just wanted to let you guys know the title of this, because in times like we're going through right now with COVID-19 and us not be able to see our friends and family or very limited time with them, you know, this is something that I experienced that God was telling me what to do. But this is the title that I want to share with you guys. This is Trusting While Having Doubts.
Wow. Trusting while having doubts.
Trusting while having doubts, because, you know, sometimes we can get into a situation where we say we trust in the Lord with all our heart, with all our mind, with all our soul, but then we have our doubts. It's like, God, but I want to have this, this, and this, but I trust you. And so even though we can't see the full picture of what God is doing in our lives, we still need to trust him. And so trusting him sometimes also comes with the doubts that we have. And so this is what I wanted to share with you guys today, because I think it's pretty cool. You know, this actually came from that's something that happened to me not too long ago, almost about a week now, where we were working in our garden, and Donna and I were deciding how to get rainwater to our garden in the back, you know, because we couldn't have any water that reached back there.
Which we mention our YouTube channel every single broadcast, and we definitely want you to go to our YouTube channel, Visual Testaments, and check out our gardening tips. And as we were gardening over the last year or 2 years, you decided to do this.
Yeah, we decided to add a rain gutter to our fence back there and then connect it to a downspout that would go into a rain barrel to collect some rainwater. So we were working on that. And then our neighbor, if you guys have heard stories about my Jamaican neighbor, he is amazing. I love him. He is truly a godsend. You're about to see why here in a minute. But he's one of those types that he would just loves to come and help you work on things. And if you got somebody like that in your life, man, those guys are godsends. Well, anyways, he comes over. He's investigating, wanting to know what we're doing. And so and we tell him what we're doing, and he was like, man, hold on, I got an idea. And then he starts sketching out this whole idea of how to make my rain gutter system
better.
100 times better. I mean, it was like 100 times better. And I was like, man, we need to do that. That looks great. And so he's looking at it, he's sketching it, he goes, yeah, it's going to work. It's going to be great. But then I had my doubts. I was like, wait a minute. If we're going to add all those those PVC pipes and holes and things like that, and some of you guys know, if you guys worked with like a rain barrel, it doesn't really have a whole lot of pressure. And so, you know, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be like 30 feet of line this way, several lines, eight or different PVC lines going this way, you know, going 5 feet this way. I was like, I just don't see it having enough pressure. I had my doubts, plain and simple. I had my doubts. But given the background that I had with my neighbor, he has never let me down. He's worked on projects with me for things. He
helped screen in our porch.
Yep, screening our porch.
Yes.
And, you know, he's one of those guys, like he doesn't want anything in return. His joy that he gets out of it is just seeing your house mature to be better. Yes. And just the joy of being able to help you. He loves working on projects. And
that's true servant leader.
True servant leader. So he's like, no. I've got to do my best Jamaican accent. I've got all the parts and pieces. You may have to get some things, but, you know, it's going to work. It's going to be great.
You're pretty good at that.
So I was like, okay, I trust him. I trust you. You know, I've got my doubts, but I trust you. So he draws out the outline, and I'm looking at it, and I'm asking questions. He's like, no, it's going to work. Trust me. You know, it's going to work.
You had your doubts that it would work, but you trusted him as a person.
I trusted him as a person because he's like, I have no reason for him to let me down, because all the projects that we worked on together, he knows more than I do. How about that? He knew a lot more than I did with this. So the trust that I had was a foundational trust that I had with him, because he's proven himself in the past of being able to help me with different things. You know, does that sound familiar?
Yes.
So it was just like one of those things. I was like, okay, I submit to your plans, because he drew out these whole schemes and things like that. I submitted to that, and I was like, you know what? If you got and he's the type of guy that he'll just do all the work in that sense too, if I let him. You know, when he built our pallet fence, the back wall, I just told him what I wanted to do. And he ended up doing it because I was gone for a week and he had to just set it up by himself. And so he's the type that if you give him an idea, he'll run with it, and he just wants to see you flourish. So,
which that's what he does. He is a contractor. He does love to do this type of work anyway. Yeah. And he just loves running with something once he gets an idea. And so you served as kind of like the visionary, and he ran with it.
Yeah, I say visionary. He made it like 100 times better. So
totally did.
But yeah, he had a plan. He had all the most of the materials that we needed to make it work, and he had the blueprint. Plus, I knew he was going to do most of the work anyway, and I was just going to be there to assist him. So that I know that starts to probably sound familiar to y'all, but so the day of the install comes, right, and we're looking at he drew out, and I'll back up and say this. The day before the install, he said he just couldn't sleep because he had all these thoughts of the ideas of what he needed to make this stuff work. And so he drew out a list of items that we needed to complete our project. So the next morning he presented, he's like, hey, this is what we need. Get this, and this. This is the size you need here. He wrote it down. And so off I went to the home improvement store.
And we are going to take just a second to have a break. We invite you to the YouTube channel for Visual Testaments. Visit visualtestaments.com. Click on the top tab that says YouTube and make sure you click subscribe and get our notifications. Tim and Donna Avery invite you to join in on our various playlists. We have 3 to choose from. There's Hope, which will offer great inspiration, Bible teaching, and awesome motivation. Healing, which brings nutrition, inner healing, freedom tips from those addictions that have been troubling you, and Home, DIY gardening and decor tips that you're just going to absolutely love. So click on our YouTube channel today and make sure you subscribe. You can visit our website at visualtestaments.com and be a part. And so we're back, and so we left off with you going to the home improvement store, and I am pretty excited about the rest of the story.
Well, I'm excited because here's the thing: I went to the store, and I had the list in front of me. I was getting things and items, and I was thinking, man, okay, these PVC pipes, because it just didn't seem like it was the right size there. So I had my doubts again. I was like, okay, so he's telling me to get this, but I know our pipes are not this size, but I trusted what he wrote down. So I grabbed the items that we needed according to what the list that he wrote down for us. And so I bought all the things that I needed, and I went back and so I came back home with all the materials that we had, and I went back to him and we lined it up, and he said, this was not the right size. And so unnaturally, when you have a setback like that, you're going to have doubts that increase. You're like, okay, so if this is kind of a wash of like, okay, I trusted you that to write down the list. Can I trust you for this project? Will it work out? So those types of doubts really start setting in, because if this was this a setback, will this whole system be a setback? And we can probably all be guilty of having that type of thinking when we feel like God's telling us to do something, but it doesn't pan out the way we think it's going to pan out.
Especially halfway through. So he was like, no. So it's interesting because he felt so bad that he was like, no, I'll go back to the store. We'll get what we need and we'll make it right. So we go back to the store and get everything that we needed. And so we made it right, and we came back home. And so even while we were putting it together, we're putting it all together and we're making it look like it's, the schematic that he had drawn out. Mm-hmm. And my mind was still having doubts because my mind could not get over the fact of drilling holes, all these holes, building up enough water pressure for it to drain out. Mm-hmm. And so I was looking at it. I'm like, I don't think this is going to work. And so I'm going to pause right here and just leave you with a cliffhanger, because I actually want to show you what we've been working on. And so if you want to catch the end of this story, I actually want to show you and take you into my garden and show you. So we have a YouTube channel that I really want you guys to check out, and you'll be able to see the projects that we're working on. It's amazing.
And then you'll get the answer to see did my doubts prevail or did trusting him prevail, and how it all worked, how it all turned out.
Cliffhanger. You're definitely going to want to visit our YouTube channel. If you cannot find it for any reason, we recommend Google searching Visual Testaments or Tim Donna Avery YouTube channel. And you can, of course, email us info@visualtestaments.com and ask us for a link. That's super easy to get you there. But I can't wait to see how this turned out. So I don't know about you guys, but make sure that you tune in to the premiere of this YouTube video to see how this went.
Awesome. So trusting even though you have doubts. And so I would tell you this, that even if right now in the midst of COVID-19, if you don't see God's hand in your life right now, and if you still have doubts, it's okay to have doubts. It's okay to question what's going on. But just as long as you rest in knowing that you can trust him to make the outcome, ultimately making your heart turn back to him so that way he can ultimately bless you more than you can absolutely understand that you can receive. Because he says, bring all the tithe into my storehouse, bring all the food and things like that into my storehouse, and see that I will not open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing more than you can receive or even understand or comprehend. So just know that is available to you.
And he's a good source.
And he's a good source. And it's not just about getting things from God.
Correct.
It's about partnering with him, because it may not even be monetary. It could just be something that you absolutely need, which is a healing point in your life. And for me, these were closure things for me that I absolutely needed as a man.
Healing.
It was just another step in my journey for healing to make the thoughts and ideas and what's the word I'm looking for?
Trust.
It was the trust, but it was like closing stereotypes. It was closing up different things that needed to be sewn up in the rest of my life as a man growing up and spiritually growing and maturing out of old habits, old thinking, old patterns of thinking. Like I said, stereotypes and things like that. So it's important.
And we all have those.
Yeah.
We all have our own stereotypes in our own ways. And so I think now more than ever, especially during this quarantine time, which, that 40 days, what you're doing with this time is really key, because I know that the Lord is going to show you more than ever that, you might have your doubts, but it's going to work.
It's going to work out.
Me.
God is so good. He's faithful and he's just. And so just know that there's plans and purposes for your life, because God promised so in Jeremiah 29:11 that those plans and purposes are for your good. So it doesn't always look monetary, but those plans and purposes are good. Yes. To help you heal, to help you be restored, to completely make you whole.
That's so amazing.
So thank you so much for listening to our Visual Testaments broadcast. We look forward to catching you next time. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the Visual Testaments broadcast with Tim and Donna Avery. Donna and I want to invite you to share your testimony at visualtestaments.com today. Your testimony can be shared on our future broadcast. Be sure to tune in with us next time for the Visual Testaments broadcast.